Good morning. So my name is Annie. I'm the CEO and co-founder of mWater. And today we're going to give you a webinar that goes through the basics of the platform. Many of you have been to our webinars before. Feighery is fantastic at giving webinars that are on the new features as they come out, especially. But we have a lot of demand recently to give, just to back up and give people an introduction or an overview of the entire platform and our business model. So today you'll get some discussion about that, as well as a whirlwind tour of the entire platform. We'll go ahead and jump in. Let me share my screen. Great. So mWater is a digital public good. It is a software platform and a team of experts that provide support for mapping and managing digital infrastructure for different kinds of sites. A lot of people came to us first with water, so water points and water systems continue to be our most used site type. But increasingly, people are using the platform for health and emergencies and agriculture and ecological monitoring. So our site types are growing over time. We have just under 350,000 users from around the world in 198 countries and territories. Our users are fantastic. They're very busy. They submit over 40,000 images a day, updating the status of their infrastructure. And we absolutely love our users. Over 99% of our users are free users. They use the platform like you might use Google or Google Docs, like without a relationship with us. But we do have paid users that engage the platform, engage us in features or custom trainings. And those users are actually the lifeblood of the model that keeps it free for the world. Our business model is one that supports digital public goods. You might be familiar with digital public goods like Wikipedia that exist for free for the benefit of humanity. And increasingly, digital public goods exist as a digital infrastructure to help especially public services and services for causes. And in our case, we're devoted to the cause of eradicating global poverty and the extreme conditions that exist within that. We have the ability to keep the platform free for unlimited use to all of our users because we do have relationships with paying clients, paying organizations that come to us requesting features, and also philanthropic organizations that have, especially this year when we went through such a shock with the closure of USAID, we were very, very lucky to have philanthropic support for that gap. There's no ongoing support software fees, and this is a really important part of our model, that we don't want to create a dependency cycle that can happen with when technology is introduced, especially in humanitarian aid, that there's no cost once the donor's gone or the project is over for it to be sustained over time. We have the we have the ability also to follow wonderful infrastructure that is in place from larger and more profitable software companies to follow the frontline security measures that they've been able to establish, and also the large proliferation of software around the world has reduced the cost of server fees, for example. So a lot of things that we're able to do are because we're following best practices that already exist in the, and I see a hand. I just want to say, well, I'll give lots of chances for questions, but I'm going to get through the whirlwind tour first. But I promise that we'll give lots of time for questions and interactions. So we'll begin with explaining the platform. The platform comprises the portal, which is a data management portal, and the surveyor app, which is an app that is a free download in the Android and iOS store. I'm going to be switching tabs in my browser, and I don't want to confuse people, so I want to be really clear that when I click over here, I'm going to the portal. When I click here, I'm in the app. And the app it works as a web app, so you can use it in your browser. The app can work on and offline and sync whenever you have service again, but the portal, the data management portal, requires a connection to the internet. It can handle shoddy connection to the internet, but it does require a connection to the internet to use. So when you think about the platform, you think, who is using the platform? We have organizations, governments, government offices, local community organizations to large international NGOs, academic researchers. We have a wide variety of users. The platform requires you to have a user account. And then once you do that, you create a username. You can create an account in the app or the portal by going to the sign up page. And then after that, you can log in, and you should just forever be logged in. There's no reason to log out and unless you're using it, obviously, a shared device. So once you're logged into the app, you'll see your username, and then the users are your enumerators, and they should share that with that name with their admin, so that surveys can be deployed to them and they can be joined to an organization. The portal has you'll see these 3 green syncs. This one just clicked green, and this means that the portal, this is the surveyor app, sorry, the app has these 3 green syncs, and these syncs mean that the data, the survey data, it has been synced through the cloud to the portal. Images are a little bit heavier, so we have a completely separate sync for that. And then there's a downward sync from the portal data, like new surveys that have been developed or new sites that have been mapped, that downward syncs to the app itself. So one of the important rules that we ask people to follow is to check that they get 3 green syncs twice a day, midday and at the end of their day, whenever they're out doing their work. Because if you're collecting data, the most expensive part is often the fuel to get out to the site. And you can imagine if something happened to that device that is dropped or got wet or stolen, that you would lose all of the data that hadn't been synced on it. The app can withstand long-term non-syncing. We had the situation in Ethiopia, for example, when the government turned off the internet for months, and people were able to continue doing their work, but we don't recommend long-term non-syncing. The job of the app is primarily to map infrastructure, digital infrastructure, to reflect the physical infrastructure, and then monitor that infrastructure over time with surveys. And the infrastructure primarily that people are mapping is sites and asset systems. So let's look at our map that is the heart of the platform here, of the digital infrastructure is reflected here. And so when a person is using it, they have the chance to add infrastructure by standing at the location, or they can move the map to the place if they're not at the location and they're mapping, for example, of something that they're not able to visit. Most of the time, you've got your enumerator going to a location, standing there, and then adding a site. And you can see all of these site options that they have to add their site. When they add the site, it exists then as a point that can be private, only to them or to their user group, or it can be public. This is a good setting to use for citizen science, for example, where anyone could edit it. But the most common safety setting that people map their infrastructure as is protected. And protected means other people can see it, and they could run their own surveys on it, but they can't change it. They can't alter it. And so you can see here's a site that has been mapped. It is managed by the mWater of Uganda, and it is able to be updated in functionality by anyone, but no one could change its name or its location, the core data of it. Another person could start a survey based on it if it was also in their catchment of infrastructure that they were monitoring. Now, once you have the infrastructure mapped, over time, you're able to longitudinally update these sites. And this is a really important detail that makes mWater different from other platforms, like Google Forms or ODK. That the concept of sites being central to your data collection means that that's what makes it possible to do management or longitudinal monitoring of the infrastructure over time. You've located your data to a site. So once you've got that, you want to start surveys. You can start a survey here with this button. You can start a survey with the add button. So you want to start a survey. And so we can look at a survey. Let's look at, this is a good example of a survey. And we'll have, in most surveys on your starting page, you've got the site question. What site is this survey about? This is very important. Here, if you say select, it takes you back to that map, and you either pick an existing site to monitor, or you make a new site and begin monitoring it from there. And then the survey interface is very standard. It works very much like you've seen in other platforms. They all follow, pretty much the same rules. The other thing I want to point out that's really important in the app is the report a problem feature. We really want people that are using the platform to keep working, to keep doing their job. We don't want them to ever just get out to the place and have problems and not be able to do their work. And so we ask that people, if they're having any trouble, report a problem. All of our team gets the problem reports whenever they're submitted. We respond to them every day. We have a global average of responding to a problem in any country, in any time zone, within 4 hours, but often we're able to get back to you within an hour. When you report a problem, we reply to you by email. So this is one reason that it's really important that users sign up with their username with an actual and active email that they would check if there's a problem. The app syncs with the portal. So we'll go over to the portal now and explore where the data is managed, where the surveys are made, where the data can be visualized and shared. The portal broadly spans many of the features that you are used to in other data collection apps, as you've seen, but also many of the features of Excel with data grids, many of the features of ArcGIS or QGIS. You can map and do your GIS work in the platform. It includes it connects. It includes the features of EPANET and exports to EPANET and visualizes, like you might be familiar in Power BI. We have customer management and accounting, similar to a light version of QuickBooks. And finally, we have project management features that you might consider in Salesforce. So all of those features, all of those platforms, their features are available in this one platform that is really a next billion technology. It's built for rugged internet conditions and can work on old laptops. It's not something that is very heavy and requires a lot of memory on your devices. The app uses less memory than Facebook Lite, for example, which is one of the lightest apps to download. We work very hard to make sure that this is great for low resource and rugged conditions. When you come to the portal, there's a few things to notice straight away. First of all, we love our users and we like to celebrate them. And so you have the visual depiction of our user activity within the last 24 hours. Our largest user base is in India, actually, and our second is right there in Indonesia. And we also, our strongest and oldest user base is in East Africa. But like I said, we love our users from all over the world. The user activity is tracked down here. We've received just under 40 million surveys, which is incredible. We're going to pass that soon. And our sites are about to surpass 6 million. The other thing is this news area in the middle is kept up to date with any new features, any information that's important for our users. And that's a great resource. And finally, the most important thing I need to show you is our resource center. And this is where people go to get started. All of our manuals, all of our tutorials are here. And so if a person is trying to get started, they can learn how to create an account. They can learn how to make a survey. There's often a video that accompanies most of these manuals. The videos can also be found in the YouTube video library. If you go to YouTube and search for mWater, there's a wonderful video library that Feighery, our head of product, manages. And so the important thing is any question you have about how to use the platform, how to make a dashboard, for example, you want to be able to search it, like making a chart in a dashboard is right here. You get a whole manual on doing it. So going back to the landing page, your same login that you use in the Surveyor app works for the portal. And if you need to report a problem, that is also possible in the portal. It's really valuable if you report a problem from the interface instead of just emailing us, because that comes with lots of metadata that helps us know what you were doing and solve your problem. So jumping into what does the platform do, we manage digital infrastructure, and we do that through sites and asset systems. So the sites can be managed in the Sites tab, and here you can filter sites and filter by users, filter by types of sites. And similarly, water assets and asset systems are visible here in the water assets tab. The assets are a beautiful new product of ours, a new feature of ours that allows you to map and manage your infrastructure interconnected with all of the vertical assets that are included, parent and child assets that are related to each other as one unit. The assets are mapped in the Surveyor app, and they can be mapped in the portal as well, and then managed over time. So you can see that in this system, for example, you can look at a water point that is part of this, and whenever you do that, you get an image of the asset. You can be many images. We especially like people to have, if it's like a pump, to have images that display what model and such it is, and then information about its core data that doesn't change, and any surveys that have been run against it over time to show its condition. You can also see if there are child or parent assets that are related to it. Asset systems, once they are mapped, automatically get a template asset overview that jumps you into things like preventative maintenance with very little extra effort. We give you these templates that allow you to see the condition of the infrastructure as it is mapped and as it is represented every day. A nice, just quick way then to move this into a console and customize it to manage it yourself is right here, create as a console. And we'll get into consoles in a minute. This visualizations and charts that help you manage your infrastructure. But this is a nice jump into that. The platform, again, digital infrastructure that is mapped and then monitored over time with surveys. And so if we look at the surveys list, I'll show you an example survey. Sorry, let's go with. So the surveys are all designed, and what you see is what you get. There's no coding involved. You can see that the creation interface is very similar to the interface for actually conducting the survey. And then also, when you make a new survey, let's create a new survey, you can add your questions in a question interface, a pop-up interface that is very simple. You have the ability to create conditions and validations whenever you do this. And then the survey is deployed to enumerators to conduct. Now, once people are into the platform, they often have trouble understanding like how to collect data or what data would be a valuable survey. So we offered an indicator library as one of our digital public goods. This is an interface that is searchable, but let's look at hand washing as an example. And we use organizations that have lots of resources to research and build surveys, and ask them to donate their surveys and indicate as indicator sets that reliably measure an indicator. So you'll see that this entire interface looks like Wikipedia on purpose. We're mimicking the user interface and design because of that fluency that people have for interacting with something that is dense data. So we have the definitions that might be involved in the indicator, the any calculations that are included, any references that the research is based on, as well as a comment section so that people can share advice on using it. So for example, there's a common example of if you translate something to Portuguese, you have to be careful to use I mean, Portugal-based Portuguese, not Brazilian-based Portuguese for most African countries, or else you'll end up with, a word that you think is water system and is actually banana. So and then you get a view of what that survey would look like. And finally, we have related surveys that you could base this on. You can see that this one indicator has been measured over 7,500 times in the platform. So this is a common indicator. Once you're in the indicator page and you say, this is the indicator I'm trying to measure, you say start a new survey, and it automatically populates that survey with all of the questions. You can add your own questions to customize it. You just can't remove any of these questions without breaking the indicator. The indicators, once they're used, can be visualized. It can be accessed in visualizations as a data source. Indicators are a fantastic way to have collaborative data collection and comparable data collection because people are measuring the same thing in the same way. Going back to survey designs. And so let's look at a survey that open up a known survey. And so once you are collecting data and you have deployed it to your users, you can monitor responses as they come in real time. And you can see this, you can monitor ones that have been kept in draft and haven't even been submitted on people's devices. And then you can see final responses. Here's where you can clean the data. You can reject it back to users and ask them to fix something. You can import and export responses. Is all, a rather complicated interaction. So I would say that instead of going over those details in this whirlwind tour, go to the help library that I pointed out and research import or export responses if you want to do that. Also, we give you basic statistical visualizations of the responses. Let's see if we get through some of these text responses. You see that you can't graph the text response. It's important detail, but the location that all of the responses have come from. And let's get down to some nice graphs here. There we go. We want to show that immediately when the surveys come in, you can see the information about when they're coming in and what the results are for each question. And this is good to monitor how many times, for example, a survey is, people are saying, I don't know in a question. That can be a real red flag that you've got a bad question if people aren't able to answer it. You can use a split view if you want to be checking, for example, by gender, how the responses change, for example. You can also export, once you have filtered to a certain view of a date or a split view, you can export that by itself. So this is a nice way to quickly see your data as it's coming in without building an entire dashboard. So that's surveys. And speaking of dashboards, going into visualizations, most people are familiar with visualizations as dashboards. And so a dashboard would be a single page with graphs or maps, involved in it. But we've built consoles into the platform, which include dashboards. And a console is like a grab and go MIS. And so let me show you a model console that I really love. And this is visible to the public. You can also explore this. That is a great example of using all the different kinds of visualizations that are included in the mWater platform. So immediately you see you've landed into a dashboard. This is one of the tabs in your console. This is a dashboard that includes maps, choropleth map, a point map. This console was made by Haiti Outreach and is used by organizations across Haiti to collaborate on the kinds of data that they're collecting and the progress that they're making to monitor their work together. The data is all rendered in real time. And this is an entirely free console. These people made it entirely on their own without a relationship to us. This is an example of just how far and great you can go. Let's see if we loaded these. Yep, okay. So you can see just some graphs that are measuring their work, and then a nice pivot table, all part of dashboards to monitor their work. Then if we go back to the top of the console, let's see there's a map tab that is a map, not a map in dashboards, but a map that is made in maps, which is far better for GIS features. And you can see all these wonderful layers that they've built into this map. And if we zoom in a bit, I can explain what they are. The large color gradients, the green, yellow, red, is the groundwater potential that has been uploaded as a shapefile. Then the circles themselves are water points, and they are colored by functionality. And then they're the size of 500 meters so that they reflect the country of Haiti's measurement of access. And then the small black dots are population as seen from a satellite population layer that reflects people, where people are living. So if you do this, it enables data-driven decision-making, because you can tell that if somebody wanted to use what we call the human rights model of aid, where you need to, it's going to be harder, it's going to cost more, you're going to accomplish less, it's very hard to drill here, but see, this entire population in this area does not have a good alternative water source that is functional. And also perhaps something like this, an elderly population that's very difficult for them to access water. You would put your next water point here. But if you were using the economic model of aid, where you wanted the biggest bang for your buck, you might say, this is a great place to put my water point, because I'll be able to reach all of these people, and it's super easy to access the water if I drill here. So this is a great example of a console that works for collective data-driven decision-making. So then the next visualization that they have in this tab is a data grid. And data grids are fantastic for many reasons. They're just very powerful features that allow you to clean data, visualize data, filter data. But also, this is a great way to download your data, to make your filter and have a quick download that's a one-shot download. The other thing that's wonderful about data grids is it's a very fast way to make an API connection. So again, that's a little bit more advanced. So if you wanted to learn more about that, you would say how to use the API, the API quick start, and they would tell you how to do that. So jumping to the Manage tab, we want you to work within organizations. We want all of your work to be managed by putting users in an org chart. And if you do that, one of the best things about it is you have a quick way to, if you have turnover within your organization, to not remember all the places that person has permission, but just take them in and out, and take them out of the org chart. A lot of people are new to our new version of showing org charts. The old version, the tree view, is still available. But for very large organizations, it was just untenable to have to be able to manage in an interface with the org chart. If you if you want to look at your teams and who's involved in who has permissions, you have the ability here. You can see if you have any collaborators, and you can also monitor what deployments that you have. This organization is a demo organization and doesn't have any deployments, I believe. But this is a great way to interface with all of your work. And then very critically, when you're in this, you also have the ability to uh, create a master download of all of your data. And we recommend that for we recommend that for safety use to create a download. Oh, here we go in settings. To create a download quarterly is a good is a good guide. And then you have unlimited downloads and the ability to keep your own data where you want to. And one of the things that is really special about that is that we developed an asset standard that your data is structured in. And as long as it's a global open source asset standard, and as long as you use this wherever you wanted to take your data next, it would be a safe way to have a structured download that allows you to move your data wherever you need to move it. The asset registry was also one of our biggest digital public goods that we've ever created. It is a way to call the same things the same things. It helps to professionalize the industry. And we recommend that you can see that this page is in the mWater website to explain it, but there's also lots of help material in that fantastic help section about using the asset standard. Things to cover in the manage just briefly is you can have tables of your own information that you reference as a data source in your visualizations. You have issues where you can track things like outages that you need to respond to. Some people think of issues as tickets in other platforms. You have the planning tool, which is a fantastic new feature that I recommend you read up on here. It allows you to create scenarios of your infrastructure if you needed to, for example, plan the next year or the next several years out, and based on perhaps population growth or changing budgets, you could create scenarios of how you're going to work with your infrastructure. And our newest feature, just released a few weeks ago, is calculated data sources. And this is wonderful, especially for if you're working on shoddy internet and you need to have some data that is difficult to render in perhaps your afternoon hours. You can have it pre-calculated once a day or overnight so that you can reference it. It's also great for really complicated queries that might time out in a dashboard. You can reference the calculated data source instead and have that ready. Going to one other detail to show is that we have everything I've shown you so far is completely free, for unlimited use. But we have a few paid resources that we use. And so, for example, the custom configuration of the app. Here's one that is from Azure that they use for their monitoring, and they have the ability to change what are the go buttons. It can really, and to limit functionality, to limit, for example, preset to private is a good example of something that you'd want to do to limit functionality for users. It can reduce training time. So this is a paid feature. And then we also offer custom MISs that we do with organizations, donors, or NGOs. This is an example of one that we did under USAID funding last year for Taita Taveta. And you can see here that, this one, that the Tavevo, the WASCO, is able to also manage their assets within this MIS. These are wonderful features that help you to reduce your time in interacting with the data, because a lot of the time, if you're using the data in the portal and you're sharing these details, or you're sharing like a console with someone, they perhaps, it's a government manager that isn't quite aware of all of these other tabs and it can be confusing. So if you're able to share your data, for one thing, it brands like it's the product of the government, which we really appreciate doing. And then it reduces all of those top tabs to just being the view of your data that you want to show. Finally, one thing I want to point out is that I've spent all of my time on the mWater platform today, but we also offer sister brands of Solstice, which is great and used mostly in global health and emergencies and education. And Solstice is a sector agnostic platform that offers all of the same features and they interface well. You can start your work in one and finish it in the other, but many places that want to do cross-sector collaboration beyond water use the Solstice platform. And then our newest platform, Juno, is made for ecological monitoring for use in, for example, forestry or monitoring indicator trees in regrowth areas. So all of these work with the same username. You can explore them, and they might help you collaborate beyond what the brand potentially limits you to. So that was my absolute whirlwind tour. I want to open up to questions that you might have, and spend the rest of the time just interfacing with you all about questions and uh, how you found this, and if you have more questions. Looking at shoot, looks like someone couldn't see the slides. I'm sorry about that. So feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. I'm going through other questions that people might have put in the chat real quick. Do you use these data for academic research and publications? That's a great question. Yes, very much so. And we offer IRB mode, which can obscure some fields to only the admin, so that when you're cleaning data, it stays entirely secure. So yes, great for academic research. We encourage that. It's great for implementation science, for example, to have a product of your research that is shared with the location, the community that you're working in. Please go ahead and ask me questions if you have them.
Hi, this is Emily Clark. I do have one question. Thanks first for the presentation. I've been kind of following mWater for a while, so it's nice to get more details and more background on how it all works. But you said that the geospatial monitoring was similar to ArcGIS. Is that something that was proprietarily designed, but to model that existing platform so that it's easier for use? Or could you elaborate that a little bit more?
Sure, sure. The functionality is similar to it. We don't want to try to replace ArcGIS. It's far more complex than, we try to keep all of our platform at about 95% of the platform at the user fluency of Google Docs or Google Forms. We hide some advanced functionality behind the advanced button, but we let people interface a lot with their data to map it and to be able to filter it or create representations of it with our maps feature that is like the basic use that you would get in ArcGIS. But we have an export to ArcGIS format so that once you hit that ceiling of we don't go complex enough for what you might want to nerd out to do, you can export it and actually take it to QGIS or ArcGIS to work it. But what we're trying to do, ArcGIS is a little too heavy for devices in very low resource conditions. And so what we're trying to do is make it very accessible to use and interface with your data at the level that most people without advanced degrees in GIS would want to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that question, Emily. Other questions? We still have people entering, and I just want to say that we did record this, and we'll make a recording of this. It's available for everyone to use or to review later if you missed the introduction. Go ahead, Nelson.
Yes, good afternoon. And first, I would like to congratulate for their presentation. My doubt is not exactly a doubt, it's just a comment. I don't have a very good experience in one small particular point in managing the water system. So what happened is we had a few problems, which one of was the someone had to delete some few points by mistake. Those points were connected to the water system. And okay, everything then mWater is necessary to get approved to happen. Even after delete, you have to approve the delete. So what happened is we did the undo. So after that, we could not recover the asset because that water point it was connected to the system, but the asset was not there recovered during the undo. But yes, my team is working directly to the motor teams to recover the solve this issue. So what I would like to know is why this happened when we're recovering the point which is deleted linked to the system, why we are not able to recover as well the asset points. Thank you.
Thanks for that. So we have actually had a few other people tell us this, that it's a little too easy to accidentally delete an asset system, and we don't offer the same uh, protections that we do for points. And so it's something that we're working on fixing to make it harder to delete asset systems. We're going to review permissions to see if perhaps it's something that only admin can do. It's on the table right now. We understand that this is a problem. In the meantime, you've done the right thing. Like contact us at info@mwater.co if you need to recover a deleted asset system or deleted water points, and we can assist you. But we're definitely going to work on making that harder to do, to accidentally delete. Great. Other questions?
I have one more if others don't.
Please, yes.
How are most people finding out about mWater to start using it? Like at this local site level, is that through the governments, of word of mouth, or a variety of things?
Sure. Yes, we don't actually have a PR team. I would say Petri and Benepe do a fantastic job with our LinkedIn and YouTube accounts, but most of it is our users, our brand ambassadors, and we've had this growth over the years, just exponential user growth by people sharing it with each other, going to conferences or organizations meeting with each other and suggesting that they collaborate on their data. We welcome anyone that wants to learn more about it. We try to offer all of our materials, our manuals and videos for free so that people, if they are curious, can jump in. But yes, that's word of mouth is definitely the primary way that people find out about the platform. Masaga.
Okay, thank you for that presentation, and thank you for the platform. We've been using it here in Zimbabwe, and we are benefiting a lot. And I really concur with what you say, that everyone who uses becomes a brand ambassador. We've been pushing because it makes sense to use it. It makes sense. It makes life very easy. And thank you very much. It's really changing. We are pushing. So my question now, it might not be related directly to the introduction to mWater, but it's on Solstice. Uh, I'm here to understand the difference between these two things.
Yes. Yes. Well, you are most welcome. Thank you for using the platform. Um, as early as a few years into running mWater, we had users like MSF, for example, or ICRC that said we love the platform. We found it through our wash work, but we want to use it in emergencies, and our managers would never use, or for health, for example, and our managers in health wouldn't use something called water. So our brand was actually hurting the ability for people to collaborate across sectors, and that was the last thing we wanted to do. But we already had so many users under the mWater brand that it had great brand recognition, and the search engine shows mWater very, very well. But So we decided to instead create a sister platform that it's still the same database under the skin, but it has a skin, and especially this is important for the types of sites that could be monitored, that could grow to be a sector agnostic tool. So the idea behind Solstice was it allowed us to grow our user base in a way outside of water, and in a way that people even in water could collaborate with people outside of water. Now that we're growing in natural water resources, for example, we have the same situation that people working in perhaps irrigation monitoring also didn't want to use something that felt too washed to them. And so we welcome them to use Solstice or Juno for that work as well. And then in the coming years, we definitely want to grow our Juno brand. It's just a baby platform, and Juno is like mWater and Solstice, but the sites are built for ecological and environmental monitoring. So I use the example of forest and trees, for example. Does that help, Ms. Saga?
Yeah, it really makes sense. Thank you very much. And it's clear now. So for
Good.
wash, you recommend, for wash, water sanitation and hygiene, you recommend mWater. There is no
Yeah.
need to
There's no
move to
need.
Solstice and Juno.
That's right.
Thank you very much. It's clear, the most clearest explanation I've heard. I've been trying to look around for the difference, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Girma. Girma Worku, did you have a question? We'll go to Njeri. Njeri, hi.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I was wondering if there's a way to link organizations that need maybe enumerators or water system designers to users who are like familiar with the platform.
Okay,
Thanks.
yes.
Wema,
And I'm
Wema,
really glad that
Wema,
you've asked that. We have if you go to hire.mwater.co, HIRE, hire, you'll see that we have the ability for people that have been trained, have gone through either the online virtual training or that we've trained in person, to list themselves and list their knowledge and the types of things that they have experience in, so that other organizations or even governments or academic researchers that are looking for enumerators can make use of the fantastic experience base that we have in our users.
Kindly repeat the link, please. Higher.
Yes. Yes. I'll have my team put it in the chat box if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Thank you, though. Germa, did you have a question? You have your hand up? You're on mute if you do. Okay. Other questions that people might have? And let me just ask Petri, do we have any questions from the chat that I should go through?
Looks like Irma had that question about whether mWater has any jobs to offer. So we already touched on the hire.mwater.co point.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to do, and feel free to raise your hand, we have more time for more questions, but the last thing I wanted to do was talk about the roadmap and what comes next for us. We continue to build, new features and release them almost every month. We are growing the platform at a fun and rapid pace, and this is how it's evolved over time. In the next few months, we're going to release workflows. Workflows are an attempt to make a digital workflow that matches your real world workflow that is supported by the technology. So you can imagine that a sample workflow that we're working on is if there is an outage and there's a report of an outage, that it needs to be alert the technicians that need to fix it, and then say the technician fixes it. The next stage in the workflow is they report it fixed, and then the committee that's overseeing that outage or that area would be notified to check it and release pay if the person has done their job. And then that part of infrastructure, if it's on a preventative maintenance schedule, quarterly, for example, would get kicked back to the next quarter because it's been checked on in your quarter. So there's a whole workflow of steps that are built, and the workflows are a bit like flowcharts and issues and surveys all together. You can deploy a workflow to a team. And so workflows are very powerful, very exciting feature that is funded by the Hilton Foundation. And we'll be releasing that in beta in November. And so we're very excited for workflows. Next month, we're releasing an API integrator tool that is going to make it easier for people to connect data flows by API. And we're looking to also use AI in that to be able to help people with broken APIs. It's one of the biggest problems that we've seen so far in API connections. And so to help suggest how to set up an API and what's breaking in it. We are using AI already in the platform. You might notice that the app has always been available in 23 languages, but now the portal itself is also available in 20 languages. So it's fantastic that we're able to jump into translation with the AI. If you have a language that you need to use the platform in that we're not supporting, get in touch with us and we'll work with you to try to make that happen. We're also hoping to integrate AI into work to suggest graphs and charts for users that need to maybe you've collected your data, you need to understand how to visualize it, and so we can suggest graphs and charts and suggest resources that can help you understand what data you're looking at and help drive the decision-making process. So that's a next year goal of ours. Yes, so the roadmap is a very important part for us, is where we're going with the platform. Like I explained with our business model, we have relationships with organizations that need new features, and they invest in these features, and that's how we're able to grow the platform over time. So if you have something that you think the platform does everything for me, but I just wish it did one more thing, we can talk about making a budget for that feature, and what we build for you, we'll make free to the world. So it's one of that's one of the core values that we have in offering our digital public good. Looks like we had a question that came up. Oh, we didn't talk about the customer management and billing system. I'm sorry, but thank you. We have released customer management, the ability to collect fees and run accounting and meter reading in the platform just in the last summer. And Feighery gave an entire webinar on that recently, and we have the recording posted on YouTube. So I recommend that you check that. Just looking at the chat, I'm not aware of any security issues with it. We have a very secure platform that you can also read about. Here we back up everything every few seconds around the clock, and our servers are all okay. So using it, I see. So using the customer management features, again, go to that help button and look at customer management, and we've got videos that walk you through it, as well as a manual. And then also go to the YouTube library. If you go to YouTube and search mWater, you'll get a very vast library that Feighery manages that has an hour-long webinar just on customer management. So I recommend diving into that. Final questions in the last few minutes of this webinar. Masaga.
Okay, thank you. The future is very bright. Thank you for the roadmap. Yeah, we will be together there. So my question is on visualizations. I've been doing a lot of visualizations with quantitative data, but recently we have a survey that is going to collect qualitative data, like comments and responses. Do you have any visualizations for qualitative data? I've been doing a lot. I can show you something that I've done recently, if it's okay.
Why don't you email it to me at info@mwater.co?
It's okay.
and we can
Yes.
go over that, but it is very difficult to visualize qualitative data. You have to go over that, but it is very difficult to visualize qualitative data. You have to code it. You have to go through and code it so that you code classifications of answers, and then you can make graphs of the codes. It is something to keep in mind when you're designing a survey, that if you use lots of text questions, you won't be able to create graphs of text questions. You have to think of, can I, can I ask this in a way that is a multiple choice question or a multi-tick question so that you can make graphs of that. But if you do need to visualize your qualitative data, it requires an interim step of coding your data. And that is a very intense manpower situation that is wonderful and can be very rewarding. Another thing that I recommend is looking at open access or open source word clouds that allow you to dump in lots of qualitative data and just visualize by, it's almost like a snowball method of visualizing by seeing the most common responses will show up. But yes, at this time, we don't have any qualitative interface in the platform. So I think that we're at the end of our time. I just want to say how grateful I am to all of you for coming, and we will post this recording and you'll be able to view it later. And keep in touch, watch that news feed in the middle of the portal so that you always see our updates. And again, that LinkedIn page that I think most of you found this webinar through is kept up to date with lots of news and case studies about our work. Thank you all, and I appreciate you, and good luck with your work.